here we are again.
Hi.
This is Karin Kopolopolopoulos.
Yeah, close. Karin Koulianos.
Koulianos. Good old Greek name.
Yes.
So, Karin and I have known each other for a few years now, going back a little while.
Oh, a long while.
And so I said, would you like to come on my podcast? And she was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
I can do that.
Yeah, we're good at talking, us two. So.
Yeah, we're good talkers.
Yes.
So here we are. So we decided we've got a few things we can talk about just to get to know Karin a bit, but also we thought we'd get the pumpkin pie down and just choose a subject and just ad-lib a bit. We'll know something about it.
We can wing up
and
with
just
a prayer.
A little bit of advertising here. We're on the peach brew. So if anyone's been watching me, you'll know that I've got a peach tree and that I've been talking about peach seeds and the medicinal properties of peach seeds. So I've been collecting the peach seeds, but I also made some nice peach syrup, and I've just made us a peach iced tea, but it's hot at the moment because I've just made it. But it's quite a good brew, isn't it?
Yes. I think we'll be quite regular by tomorrow.
Yes, that's what Karin is concerned about. She said, I better water that down or I might be too regular. Anyway, so, tell us a bit about yourself, darling.
Okay, what would you like to know?
So you're an Adelaide girl.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, born and bred.
Yes, I'm born and bred here in Adelaide. I have a twin sister who looks like me,
so she's an identical twin.
She's an identical twin, but she looks like me BC, before children, so she's still a beautiful size, smaller, gorgeous, and I am just
You're
like
the
AD.
The voluptuous model.
Yes, I'm the AD after delivery. This is me now, lovely. So, so she lives in Queensland. Shout out to my beautiful twin sister Cindy. Hello, my darling. And so born and bred in Adelaide, just the two of us.
So we knew each other from a church situation, Field of Dreams. There might be a few Field of Dreams folks out there. So it's one of those funny places, Field of Dreams, that people don't necessarily stay, but the connections you make through it are top notch.
Yep. And
shout out to Raylene.
Raylene, goodie.
I hope you're watching. And so we've kept in touch over the years, and we've both got a real passion for community, I think, and interested in alternative ways of doing community, doing godly community. And then we discovered as the pandemic came down in full force that we were tuning into a lot of the same information, and so we were became very aware, and we're always exchanging information about what's going on.
Oh, have you heard of this? Have you heard of this?
She's sending me things. Watch this.
Yeah. So during so COVID was a very interesting time for everyone in the world, and I used to work for SA Health, so I can actually say that now because I no longer work for them. So I'm no longer under threat of you can't speak against us. It's part of the code of ethics, and can't talk on media and all that. So I can now. So so my journey during COVID was very different to a lot of people. I never actually experienced a lockdown at all because I worked through the lockdowns. I was an administrator officer at the Women's and Children's Hospital, and then I was seconded to be frontline during the pandemic of the pop-up clinics. So anyone that went through Victoria Park pop-up to get testing for, just
for COVID.
Just for the swab up the nose, whatever. So that wasn't me. I was the person that took all your details and took all your admin and stuff like that. And then sometimes I also was the swab assistant. So sometimes I worked with the swabber that took the swab, and then I had to, take that and properly follow the mandates of what's the word? All that sort of stuff. So follow all the process properly.
Protocols,
so that was a very interesting time.
Yeah, cool. And also we weren't going to really delve into it today, but you went to Canberra. So for those that aren't aware, there was a lot. It was at 22?
21.
21. Okay, so when things were pretty intense, it's sometimes it seems a world away, doesn't it? How intense it felt at that time. And for those of us who were aware of the New World Order and the idea of that they were trying to press everyone into getting a digital ID and forcing us into this surveillance type of state, and we were feeling pretty nervous about that maybe we couldn't even go shopping without our
ID.
Something like that. I can't remember now. It feels so far away, but
Very restrictive.
It was scary, you know. And so then following it from that, as they started forcing everyone to get the vaccine, a whole lot of people in that freedom movement with that awareness, you just didn't know what to do. There was nothing you could do. They were just rolling things along. And so a whole lot of people said, let's go to Canberra and say, no, we don't agree with this.
Because they forgot there was a minority of people like myself who I wouldn't have got jabbed anyway, but there was a majority of people like myself who have legitimate medical reasons why they couldn't get jabbed. So I have 2 blood clotting disorders. I've got thrombophilia factor 5 as well as MTHFR, and I'm also a rare blood group. So as my doctor said, I hit the trifecta. So there's no way I could have got jabbed at all. It would have killed me. So, and I stood up for myself with SA Health and I wrote to them, and I actually got the Canberra exemption. So I actually got it. They actually sent it to me. My doctor was amazing, and they sent it to me, and I had a 2-year exemption because
This was for work.
This is for work, so that I could keep working. But
they didn't take no notice.
Didn't take no notice. Line manager said no. Nicola Spira said no. In her personal opinion, she didn't think my situation was bad enough, and it's my choice not to work. So
extraordinary. You just can't believe what happened.
Yeah.
Like I saw a little shot, like a little short video with a whole lot of sequences put together of the different ways the cops, and it said, never forget or something. Never forget what they did. And it was just unbelievable watching this footage of these police acting like deranged soldiers, like just knocking civilians around and pepper spraying them right in the face, and just unbelievable all over this virus, this idea of a virus. So it's like we're going to be processing this for a long time, I think. In the same way that we grew up, we weren't involved in the Second World War, but our society been processing that war for a long time, and I think it's going to be processing whatever's happened to us through COVID for a long time. So were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that it's quite interesting when you look at it from a different point of view. So I worked through the whole of COVID, so I didn't experience a lot of the loneliness and stuff that people went through. I saw my husband go through it. He had to work from home, and just different people that I knew. But I saw the effects going into work and watching people coming in to drive through, and just the fear on people's faces. And when I always put a happy face on my my gowns when I worked, because I was always conscious that we had children coming through as well. So I would say to them, look, you can't see me smiling because I've got full mask, full PPE, you can't see my face. But if you look at my chest, I'm smiling to you. So it tried to, just bring some normality in a sense of chaos, that that I wasn't a scary person. I'm just taking your details as an admin person doing my job, trying to bring a little bit of peace and a little bit of joy to children that were a little scared. And then I was like, give me a smile, you can see my smile, can I see yours? And then I see a child smile, and the parents so many times would just say, thank you so much, you just helped us in this situation. So it was always trying to find the good in the situations. Like you said, we were part of the Freedom Rally here in South Australia. We did multiple freedom rallies, quite peaceful protesters.
It was good fun.
It was amazing, and just the calibre of people.
Quite a vibe, and what a broad range of people. It's amazing,
Yeah, met people that I would not have met in any other circumstance but through that. And
it was very amazing.
Opened my house up, so I had a place for people to come to, a safe space that they could have coffees and tea. So I had police, lawyers, teachers, school principals, hospitality, nursing staff, doctors. I even had a Garbo collector guy come. I had different people from different all walks.
So you made your house open to people who were in the freedom movement, who needed a bit of solace, a bit of community.
Just that they could talk to other people in the same situation and realise, hey, I'm not going through this alone, and that they had a safe place to come to where it was private and they could just talk and know that there was no threat of anything, and that, you know, and it was really lovely, and it really helped a lot of people. So I did that for a year. I opened my house up on certain days, and and built community through that. So and that's what it's about, isn't it? Building community.
Yes, that's what I think is really important. Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say something. Yeah, I think I was Canberra. Thank you. I'm sort of nervous to touch on it because I think we'll start talking about it and it'll be hard to stop. I think it needs its own podcast because it does. It feels like it's really important stuff. And I know you have lots of stories about what happened. But just as a little teaser, there's the idea that our government used some sort of weapon, some sort of
LRAD machines. So it's to do with low frequencies. So they had them set up on the day of the march around certain places in the old Parliament House, and then they had it also in the new Parliament House, and then they were just overwhelmed with the amount of people. We had over 1 million people from around Australia that came. And they were calling police to come off duty on annual leave. They were calling all to come to Canberra because they were shit scared that this could, escalate to something. And there were so many mums and dads and just everyday mums, people like us that were there that just wanted our voice heard. And the interesting thing, Sophie, is all the Canberra people that we talked to that worked in government or worked in Canberra, none of them were vaccinated. So it was like Canberra had a bubble on themselves where they didn't have to be vaccinated.
That same pressure that the rest of Australia.
But the rest of Australia had to be.
It must be because they had to protect all the pollies from from getting poisoned.
Who knows?
While they poisoned the rest of Australia.
Yes. So they didn't understand why we were protesting. And then once they started to hear some of our stories, people had lost their businesses. I met people that were sleeping in their car. They're broken up marriages over it, where one partner had taken the children and got them vaccinated without the other partner, husband or wife's permission. Families getting, people being isolated where, their families wouldn't even talk to them.
It was very intense, wasn't it? On so many levels. So intense.
Was. But there was a beautiful side in being at Epic and some of the other places that we were at. Epic was the campgrounds and Canberra. So just the sense of community was just beautiful. Like we turned up at 11 o'clock at night. It took us 17 hours to drive. There's a group of us, I won't name all who they are, but we all drove together in a van. And we got there, and as soon as they got there, a person said, "Oh, where are you guys from?" And we said, "Oh, we're from South Australia." And on the walkie-talkies, "Hey, we've got a group of people who've just driven from South Australia. Let's get the line." And we're thinking, what's this? And then suddenly they said, "We just got to follow the road down, give us instructions, and we'll be at the back of the campground." Great. So as we're driving through, people were just lining up and applauding us and opening up the van and coming in. "Oh, welcome to your tribe. Thank you so much for being part of this," and hugging us. And it was just overwhelming, the love. It's like, what? Wow. It's, I never went to Woodstock. We're too young for Woodstock, but I've heard stories about Woodstock. So I think it would have been like that without all the sex and all that and the drugs. But
I'm glad that
but just a sense of community, and people were coming up and hugging us and talking us, and you just talk to people.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like hard times are where the barriers come down, and a lot of things can shift. So it can be, it's like Dickens, what is it, the beginning of Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the way it rolls in life. You can have sort of even keel times and they're just like, yeah. But then it's like intense and terrible, but the things that can come out of that and the clarity you can get from it is amazing, yeah.
One funny thing I like to share is that I saw every breed of dog that I've never could think of. Like every person bought their pets.
Oh, beautiful.
So there was like wolf hounds to little baby chihuahuas. A guy had his pet pig. He was the dude. They had macaws, cats. It was just like a mirage of just all these lovely animals that people just bought their pets. And
wouldn't it be fun to do that like as a yearly
get
together, family get together?
But going back to the LRAD machine. Yeah. So on the day of the march, they released these LRAD machines, the police did, and it left out this low frequency, which affected all the people that were there. I mean, I have personally been injured by it. I won't go into details, but I have been personally injured by it, and I know many other people.
Will you go into details when you talk about it? Or?
Yeah,
To some
at a
degree, yeah.
later
We'll do a
stage.
special one
Yeah,
about
but
it,
at this
but-
stage, I just want to sort of give an overview. So it was really heartbreaking for some of us, and also made a lot of people angry at the fact that during peacetime, that our own Australian government let a biological chemical weapon, well, sound frequency weapon, loose on civilians in peacetime, and known full well what they were doing, and they didn't care.
But the awful thing is, of course, it's hard to get real clarity about it because they're not confessing it. So it's just what people can piece together from the evidence.
Yep.
And so people who don't believe it and don't believe it's possible that our government could do things like this, it's easy to dismiss, even though there is a lot of evidence.
Yeah.
And
A lot of
just
testimony.
yeah. And even I've seen people within that community talking about people dying of cancer since then and so on. So, but you know, like I say, it's all difficult to work out what's real and true, isn't it? And so it's easy to dismiss these things, but they need to be taken seriously.
Well, Michael from Cafe Lockdown was there. That's where I first met him, and you know, he had so many stories. He had billboards of people that have been injured through, you know, vaccine injury, but also other things that were happening. And you know, so we've got some great voices out there like Michael from Lockdown Cafe and so many others. You know, we've got Hoodie, and we've got so many people that have shared their truths and shared their stories and you know,
Taking
a stand, you know. And
did you see? There's a video going around I saw yesterday of some sort of council meeting in Wollongong or something. And there's some woman standing up, and she gave a really good. They've been doing a lot of research and about the death and injuries associated with vaccine. I can't remember all the information now. I should have sort of jotted it down, but it was just that idea that, I mean, little by little the information's coming out, and someone commented over that it's going to be a tsunami once it breaks through. Yeah. Because there's so much information, and it's just hard for the people that have been kept in the bubble of no, everything's all right. They're just crazy conspiracy theorists. I think soon it's all just going to flood in, and they're going to have to deal with it.
And we're not conspiracy theorists. We're just...
Well, we are actually. I am.
Well, we're no, honey. We are in a sense, but we're also truth-sayers because we're just telling the truth.
It's just that has been that they've deliberately weaponized that idea of being a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. Like if you think there is a conspiracy going on, the very idea of a conspiracy is that you can't see what's going on. So you've got to develop a theory to try to understand what's happening to you. Yeah. But they weaponise that. The CIA weaponised that after JFK. They deliberately used it as a label to discredit someone, and so that's why it comes down to us as I even hear people using that term. They say, "Oh, it's not just a conspiracy," as though that means not just a ridiculous story. Whereas a conspiracy is a group of people banding together to plan to do something. Okay, so I am in a sense, because I don't follow the norm in a sense. You know, I have free thinking, and I'm happy to use it. Yeah, we're happy to theorise. And I don't comply. Science is based on theorising. That's right. And we don't comply when it's wrong. Yeah. And you know, where it's taking away our freedoms, where it's taking away our choice of. And I think it's huge that to have a relationship with God, to have a personal relationship with God is essential in this, because I think people that don't have that, their natural human instinct is going to gravitate to where you feel the greatest power is. And if the greatest power is government, because in a sense, on a natural level it is, then you're going to gravitate to that and go, oh, well, I don't really know what the truth is, but I'll just better be in good with the top dog, you know. But if you know there's another top dog. Yeah, that's right. Like our parents... well, I know from my personal experience, like my parents' generation and that, you know, a lot of them, you know, the doctor says something, they'll just follow it, you know, they don't question it, and, you know, the government's doing something good for me, but, you know, but you have to question because they aren't, and you, like you said, you know, JFK and all that. I think the most, the interesting thing about it is, I think there's this thing of like either don't trust your government or do trust your government. Whereas I think the damaging thing is that split. Whereas I think it's something in between.
Yep.
That we need to have government. I'm not anti-government. No. We need to have government, and we have had in our Christian society an amazing government with lots of checks and balances to stop human nature from spoiling things. But
well, God is a God of order.
Yes, yeah. So I'm not personally against government, and I don't think we should just have a distrusting attitude towards all authority figures. I think we should pray for them, but just be aware that if God's saying go that way and someone else is saying go that way, you're faced with a decision. But I think government is a godly institution. I think it's part of. That's what I think. I know a lot of freedom people are kind of anarchists essentially. And this idea of your own sovereignty being sort of supreme. Whereas I feel like if you end up losing your sovereignty if you don't have authority over you.
Well, we're called to govern.
Yeah.
To governing over ourselves, governing over our bodies, governing over our children.
And if you're going to govern, you need to be governed.
Yes.
There's always a flow of authority. It's always a flow. And so if you're not able to submit to authority, you will become a rebellious authority, which is tyranny.
That's right.
And so I think this is what's behind this is tyranny, and that tyranny is trying to take over our legitimate government. So that's what we need is like we don't want to try to destroy the legitimate government. We want to get it cleaned out of these evil forces that are infiltrating.
Clean out the swamp.
Yeah.
Clean out the swamp. And even in the Bible it says, pray for your government, you know, pray for your leaders. So that's an onus on us that we need to do that and not, speak negative words or, cursing words of, they're no good or whatever and da-da-da. And, or personally attack a person. It's not about that. It's about what is that person aligning with that it's trying to cause issues. So it's so just praying for that person.
So just politely stand your ground.
Yep, and stand your truth and and just keep going and just showing love and kindness.
How's the peach tea going?
Oh no, I'm still going.
Right?
Yep, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
It's a good drop. I have to start selling it. I could advertise in here. Sophie's peach tea.
It's peachy.
It's peachy. All right, I think we should go towards the pumpkin pot. There's the pumpkin pot up there. Can you see the pumpkin pot? Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, there's the big pumpkin pot. Oh my gosh, it's huge.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Gorgeous.
All right. So what we decided, we thought we'll have a little ramble. We've had a bit of a ramble, and now Karin will pick something out of the pumpkin pot, and we will discuss it. And I'm starting to think, as we were talking about it, I thought, that's probably more fun than hang on a sec. Than what we've been doing, which is picking the one for the next week. We got the fan on, it's flying away. Is to pick it on the day, and that makes it a bit more exciting.
Yes!
We don't know what we're going to get.
Ooh, what have we got today? Absolutely, I can do that for you, love.
Thank you, darling. So, drum roll. Do you want to do it?
Put my glasses on.
All right, yeah.
Da-da-da.
The topic for today
is what is God?
Oh.
That's a huge topic. Oh.
What is God?
Wow.
So you notice I said not who is God, because I know that Christians always say, well, that's not the question. The question is, who is God? Because they know what the answer is. It's Jesus.
What is God?
What is God? But I framed it that way because I remember when I've pondered these deep questions about God, and I think it was particularly going through trying to understand the Trinity, and just trying to, you're trying to understand what God is and what it all means, because like within the framework of your Christian faith and your experience, it is the experience in a sense. But when you step back and look at it, you sort of I was posed with this question of what is God, and with the thing about the Trinity.
The Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
Yes. So a lot of people who our the Jewish tradition that Christianity comes out of was unique and special in that it was monotheistic. So it has one God, not multiple gods. So all other cultures, all other belief systems on earth, I think, except maybe there's an exception once in Egypt, but he got shouted down. So that's the special thing, is this one God, not two, not three, one God. And so it was quite a complex thing to navigate with early Christianity, as they started to say, well, is Jesus God? And what does that mean? And how can he be human and be God? And how can God get killed? You know? And then what is the Holy Spirit? Is the Holy Spirit just the force of God? Or so to me, it was winding it back. I started to look at it and go, well, the question is then, what is God? Because if we see God as like a man figure up here, and then there's another man figure of Jesus and another man figure of the Holy Spirit, you've got three sort of persons, and it, like, are they three separate people? You know, like, it just does your head in, like, if you try and think about it too much. And so I've got a good friend who's actually decided that he's not Trinitarian, like he doesn't believe in the Trinity. And there's a lot of evidence for that as you look in Scripture. There's quite often Jesus is talking about God and how you should relate to God, and
he always did what his father. He only did what his father. You know, he followed what his father. So he did that. So. So like, you know, in the beginning the Word was with God and God was with the Word. So, you know, you've got the Trinity, you've got Jesus as the Word. We've also got Lady Wisdom. We've also got to, you know, give her a shout out too, because I mean, in the beginning was God, you know, God was there, but wisdom was also with God. So there's all these components of, you know, God the Trinity, which I believe in. God the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree.
I didn't say
I know, I'm not saying about you, but I'm just thinking about your friend, you know, and that's the wonderful thing about, you know, conversations, is that we're not here to have a conversation or have an argument to get it right. We're here to listen and just chat. And, you know, we might not always agree on everything, because it's a learning and it's a personal experience and it's growth. And someone's walk with Yahweh, Jesus, is at their personal experience, at their personal stage. And, you know, my walk is in a different sphere, but we all believe and love. And that's what should come out, is that, you know, love. You know, God is love. How you live it. It's not just how you say it. It's practical.
So there's not much point if you spend your whole life buried in a book and figuring out all these big questions, but then you treat the people around you with disrespect. It's got to be about how you live your life. Is the most important thing. Because there's a lot of stuff that our finite minds sort of can't see about the way things really are. And it's like being a child. There's a lot of things you don't really understand about adulthood when you're a child. It's you know.
Yeah, that's why Jesus says, "Come to me as little children." You know, with that curiosity, with that you know, that playfulness, you know, and that you haven't got it all together and you don't know it all, and you're willing to learn.
But it's not been like that in a lot of Christians' experience.
Unfortunately,
there's been a lot of you know, people murdered for the idea that you've got to believe the right thing throughout the history of Christianity. And so even now, like, I was in a group, a Christian Facebook group at Adelaide Christians, and it got a bit controversial because the friend that I was talking about was part of that group as well, and someone knew that they were not Trinitarian, and someone started to call them out, and because there was another guy there, and so they treated it, the idea that he didn't believe in the Trinity, as like something that you had to protect the Christian community from. You know what I mean?
So like,
and so it isn't. Well, they ended up. They were kind of saying if you didn't believe in the Trinity, you couldn't be part of the group, because and a lot of people do. You see the Trinity as part of the definition of Christianity. People see it as the core. Maybe it is. I don't know. But like what you're saying is, like, you need to be able to have conversations about it. And you need to be able to observe the fruit that people are producing in their life, because that's more important than in a sense what you how you mentally construct how God is, or what God is how is that influencing you, and
or that saying, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what Jesus said, not just hearers of the words, but doers of the word. So it's like, that's where I think God's focus is much more than if we've got theologically got all our boxes ticked.
That's right.
Because I think that's a preoccupation of humans, and it becomes an issue of control. Like, you know, are you believing the right thing?
It comes down to relationship. You know, everyone's relationship with Yahweh is personal to them because we're all unique. And we're not clones, and there might be some out there, but that's a totally different subject.
Another podcast.
But you know, but you know, we're all individually made. You know, in our mother's womb, as it says in Psalm 139, and you know, He knew us being knitted in our mother's womb, and you know, that's pretty special to know that God knows about us and that we came from Him, and that you know, we're on this earth for a purpose, and you know, and so it's exciting to be alive, especially at these times, especially these days.
And that's what I was thinking, is that that I think we do live in a special time on many levels. But one of them is the fact that for us to sit here and talk about the Trinity and maybe come up with unconventional answers, it doesn't mean we'll be kicked out of the church or burned at the stake, or thankfully that's not part of our culture. And you know, we don't want any tyranny like that to come back into our culture.
No.
So I think it is a new age in that sense of that each individual is now free to, as you say, have their own relationship with God, and that is really the design that Jesus has handed to us, is that we all have direct connection to God ourselves.
Yep.
So then the question is, what is God? That is our question. What is God?
What is God? So what is God to you? It'd be interesting.
Is anyone out there?
Put some things in the comments and let us know. That'd be
You might
great.
be watching after we recorded. Just put it in the chat, and we'll answer you and have a little conversation about it.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't got it all. I haven't got all the answers.
Oh, really?
Definitely not. No,
that's why I asked you here.
But you know what? I'm a work in progress, and I'm love learning and exploring and being curious, and you know, just loving my God with all my heart, and and I love talking about Him. So
when I first pondered that question, and I think I was partly thinking of people outside of the Christian framework as well. So it's not just people. I think once you've sort of had an experience of God, you know God as an experience. You know, so that gives you a sort of a basis in a way that's hard to describe to someone who hasn't had that experience. But with the idea of Jesus being God, I was interested in you know, that word God. We use that word God as though we all understand what we're talking about when we use that word God. But different people might have very different ideas when they hear that word. What does it mean, you know? And I've heard people say that it used to be connected to the German word good, or God, good. God is good, like that maybe our English word has come down through that vein of being good. God is the good in everything, you know, because like, where is God?
He's everywhere. He's omnipresent. He's in us. He's in us, but everywhere.
And people talk about him being in heaven, but is he? He's on earth. Like Jesus said that when he was talking about the birds being fed by God, he said God feeds them, and God knows the hairs on a head.
Yes.
So how does that work? Like, so does God have a location, or is God everything? So then you get into another heresy, which is pantheism, which is that everything is God. And there's a lot of people that are getting into sort of Eastern religion now that are coming up with that idea. They talk about the oneness, that everything is one, and so is that true? Is God everything? And then that leads down to a funny path of that they sort of then start to say you have to accept everything, not say this is good and that's bad. You have to accept everything because everything is God.
Interesting. When someone says that you have to, that's when you pause and you think, well, I don't have. It's like, you know, it's not a have to, it's a choice. And you know, once someone tries to put a command or law, in a sense, then you've got to pause and think, well, why? Okay, that's what, and listen and hear what they're talking about, and, you know, and the conjecture of the conversation. And you can go, well, okay, I'm hearing where you're coming from, but at this moment, I'm just going to have to pause it because it's not where I'm at, or I don't quite follow, or it's not for me.
That you don't feel pressured to do something.
No, and, you know, like I said before, you know, we've got friends that we can agree to disagree on, but we haven't lost the friendship. We're just saying, hey, you know, that's what you're where you're at. I respect you, love you. I'm not going to go there. That's fine. I'm where I am, and, you know, let's just, you know, leave that conversation, leave that, and just go. What other conversations that we can have connecting us.
We can still have this conversation, though, can't we?
Oh, we can. Yeah. We're fine. Yeah.
So quite often sorry, this chair's creaking over. In people that do think outside the box quite often talk about God being consciousness. And I find that an interesting way to think about it. Like, so quite often it's just good as like a little mental exercise to wonder things and to take those ideas and have a look at it and say, well, how does that work? Because, but which then again poses the question, what is consciousness? Mm-hmm. Which is a very interesting thought.
Yep, and meditation. I've got a friend named, I'll shout out to, hey, David Zabo. Hello, David. He does a really good meditation. He does it in the river because he loves water.
In the river?
Yep, he gets his...
in the river?
Yep, normally by the river, but sometimes he gets in the river.
I did actually watch. I hope David watches this.
Yes, I
heard
it. Hey, David.
It was very nice. Yes. Really lovely meditation.
Yeah, so he does good meditation.
So Christian meditation.
Yeah, so that's...
Alternative Christian meditation.
It sort of goes in with the conscious side of things, you know, because God has given us a mind, a soul, and a physical body. So, so there's obviously different components which obviously people watching this will understand. We've been given thought, we've been given a sound and balanced mind, and it's the stuff that's happening in the atmospheres that we are, encountering, and people encountering, like with, chemtrails, things like that, where they're altering the atmosphere with frequencies of chemicals and stuff, which do alter things, and, Do you
want some water?
Yeah, I've got my peach tea. I'm fine. I'll have some of this.
That'll give you a coating on your throat.
But I've noticed, that sometimes when they've had chemtrails, I've noticed sometimes there's a depression that comes with it, that follows. So there's, we've got to be aware of what's happening to our bodies, what's happening outside, and taking note, and what's going on in this world, how it is affecting all of us, and how it's affecting our consciousness as well,
And so, what is our consciousness? And, does it have different layers? Because, when you talk about the chemtrails, I think one of the important things because sometimes you get into that information and it's very overwhelming, the idea of that people that are not good people could have that kind of control over our world. But I keep being drawn back to the idea that there are different levels and different planes, and these things can only happen on a certain plane. And so it can affect our bodies, but if our bodies are ruling, then that will impact our whole being. But if our bodies are under our soul and our spirit and our mind, if our spirit is in God and safe, then that is a source, and it keeps renewing and refreshing. And I think it's a great thing to remember. And one of the things that I saw recently, there is a real encouragement to me, as they do this thing where they get a skin.
Okay.
Sand. I had the good word for it, but I couldn't think of it like on the top of a drum, that kind of thing, I think. And then put sound music and different notes, and you get different shapes forming in the, what do we call that? Do you know?
Same with the water, how they can do
it with water.
You can have two glasses of water, and one water you put a word called hate in the glass, write it in pen and paper, and then you have one that says beautiful, and then you freeze that water, and then you'll see
you get different crystals.
Different crystals, how even written words can impact that water and the frequency, because we are made of water mainly.
Yeah.
And
so this was like, so you've got this set up, a drum with the sand on top, and you feed a note into it, and you'll see that the sand will take a form of the sound of the note, and the different people, that's sort of going along now, because people have got really interested in it, and so they're testing out all different kinds of things. And so this one person showed that they did a test where they connected up some worldly music, just sort of rock and roll music, up to it, and it couldn't make a shape. It was just sort of chaotic, and it couldn't make a beautiful shape, because that's what it was. It's like beautiful geometry, geometric designs that it makes. And then, oh, that's right. Sorry. The important thing was they were talking about this the 440 hertz.
Yes.
And the importance of that, because they're saying that if the music is tuned to 440, it can't make a beautiful shape. If it's the 444 or these other ones that they say are more natural and more in tune with God, that they'll make a beautiful shape. That's the important part I missed out on this story. So they did some ordinary music tuned at 440, and it couldn't make a shape. But then they played worship music that was tuned at 440. So it was still at 440, but it made a beautiful shape.
Yeah.
So that, to me, I find that very encouraging, because it means to me that what happens when our consciousness is tuned into God, and we are in a state of worship to God, and we have our spirit right with God and in good shape, that resonation is going to be creating the beauty, no matter if there's chemtrails, no matter what they do to us. That's the important thing, and that higher authority, that higher place that it's coming from, will create God's beauty no matter what. It is higher authority.
So as I was saying before, because that just totally clicks in. So I was noticing like a depression, and then I would just pray over myself and say, look, I have the mind of Christ. I am one in Christ, and and govern my mind and take authority over my mind. And take authority over my emotions and what I was sensing, and then put on some beautiful worship music, or put on Laura C. She's got amazing beautiful worship music. I just shout out to Laura C. And she's got this beautiful meditation music now, and just putting something like that on, and just stilling ourselves, being still and just being in the moment, and letting that consciousness of healing and
it's like, this is how I fight my battles.
This is how I fight my battles. Coming one in alignment with Christ consciousness, and then it just lifts like that, because it can't stay. And
so this is, I think, an important thing that we're learning through this whole exercise since COVID. And for me, I learned because I'd had a idea of the filter I was seeing it through first was through the book of Revelations, and as the end of the world, and the New World Order. I was seeing it very much through that filter, which I'd already known about for a number of years, and so I had some information about the New World Order. And I found myself initially oscillating between thinking God's got this, to thinking, oh, maybe God's kind of taking his hands off and he's going to let us go into the beast system, and it's going to be, we'll have to be tested, and we'll have to... And I came to the conclusion, because I'd been walking with God so long now, and I knew, I'd had to fight a lot of battles to get out of depression and stuff like that, that I knew that wasn't God's spirit. Whatever I was experiencing was taking me away from God. And so what I started to understand is that the people that are behind this agenda, that they understand spiritual principles, and they want to get us, that the people that know God and have a relationship with God, the only way that they can get any superiority over them is if they trick them into submitting. So unless we're doing the work ourselves and learning how to stay connected to God, and we will believe what they say, and we will believe the idea that they do have supremacy, and we will submit to them, and we will yield our power and authority, because I think that's the only way they can take our power and authority, is if we willingly give it to them. And so...
Well, we saw that through COVID, didn't we? Where a lot of people were, being compliant. And some were against their will because they didn't want to lose their jobs or whatever.
But then the other side of it too is that people that have got all razzed up and fight them, some of them are burning out, they're lost and confused because their emotions are so drained from being so upset for so long about feeling like they have to fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's different to us fighting other people.
Yeah.
It's about us learning how to come into our place of peace, which is
Rest.
the kingdom of God within us.
Yes.
And then we are ruling and reigning from that position because we have authority.
Yeah.
But if we don't know that and we surrender our Christian authority, then we can be tossed around and we will just be in our flesh, and that then they can just attack us and have a field day with us.
It's knowing who we are and whose we are. And having that that authority of knowing that and having that place of rest and peace, and from that place we then as you said before, fight. But the battle's not ours. It's already been won by Christ. On the cross with his blood. And he rose again. So it's just coming in of having that deeper relationship with Jesus, and having that sense of peace, and knowing that when there is chaos happening around us, that we can look from peaceful eyes. Like when I was working frontline COVID, I would have colleagues, nursing medical staff say to me, "Karin, why are you so peaceful? Why aren't you scared of what's going on around here?" And I just said, because I can see from different eyes. I see it from a different viewpoint, and sometimes it opens conversations, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I would just give a co-worker a hug, obviously when we've finished our shift. So we're in normal clothes and not, PPE and all that. But, just giving that assurance of a hug, or just, saying, it's okay, how do you know it's going to be okay, And I just said, because I walk with Jesus, I have a peace, that does surpass all understanding. And, you can't logically describe it sometimes, because you really don't have the language of words to describe a knowing that that is from a place of rest. And that comes from abiding in him. And having that relationship, and and it flows out from there.
You've got to do that inner work to get connected, to abide in the vine.
Yes.
So then your source is not yourself, and it's not in this natural order.
No.
It's above the natural order, and then that we fulfill our mandate as human beings to rule and reign in this realm. That's what we're put here for, to be God's representatives on this earth. So I think that this whatever it is we're going through is bringing to the surface the evil that is trying to hide in amongst, and sorting that out, getting rid of it. And I think so. It's going to be pretty cool, I think, after that happens.
Well, the light is exposing the darkness, and we have the light, and it's just it's being exposed, and it's going to more and more is coming. So we think we've seen some stuff yet, but we really haven't seen a lot. It's, more's coming, and, we shouldn't be shocked, because, we live in a world that, does have elements of evil and stuff. But, we're here to be the light. We're here to be, Christ's hands and feet, and just to show love.
And it's getting sorted out.
Yeah.
So that's another one that's in there, in the pumpkin pot, is it the end of the world? So that'll be an interesting one when that comes up.
It will be.
Because there are all kinds of different beliefs about that.
Yeah.
What it means. And I've been on my own journey with that, and kind of come out with different answers.
And we've had some fantastic conversations, us too, sort of like, Sophie has a thought, she goes, "What do you think of this?" And then we start talking, and then we, what about this, and what about that? It's like, it's lovely to have a friend that you can, have these conversations with, and, and just know that you're in a safe space that you can have these conversations, so I hope you've got friends like that you can talk to, and, if you've got any questions, feel free to, put it in the little chat, or, reach out to Sophie for, Oh, you want to do this for next week?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
Do you want to choose something? And I forgot too that I've got my sculpture here.
Yes, and it's looking very fabulous, everybody. She's amazing.
Well, I don't know about that.
I have one of her art pieces in my garden.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
The lady of the garden. Oh, she's looking fabulous. Yes.
So, is she visible? Yeah.
Yes.
So she's not really finished. I had too much going on in my life this last week, so I haven't done much, but I've sort of neatened her up a bit, and I don't know if I'm going to, how much to define the whatever it is that's around her. But I decided I was going to call her Showers of Blessing.
Oh, you know what? I was just thinking, she looks like she's having a shower, and it's like, oh, I've just got to. You know what? You know, I don't know. This is going to show my age. You know, there was a song, I've got to watch that mowing.
Oh, yeah.
My mum, my
That was from the
grandma,
50s,
my
yeah.
grandma used to
Gonna
sing
wash
this
that
song,
man
right out of my hair, the wash my hair. So that she's like going, I'm going to wash that bad stuff out of my hair. I'm going to wash that,
Well, this
whatever.
is like, I was thinking of like having this as all like flowers
Yeah.
and nature, and like that it's all sprinkling down.
Yeah.
And like when I was trying to explain it to Mum, she said, "Is it like God's got that and He's sprinkling like this?
Yeah.
Oh, showers of blessing."
Yeah, it is a shower of bliss, you know.
And I was thinking like if she was in like a little fountain, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? If she had water
Yeah.
trickling over it.
Well, it does say that, the living waters from the throne. So, she could be splashing it on her hair, going, oh, I'm loving this water.
Yeah, that's
It's just
right,
like beautiful to my body and my hair. And love it. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, she's got such a fantastic expression of joy on her face. So,
good.
good. Definitely. So,
I'm not sure how much to define
yes.
it yet, but
so let's gleam and let us take, let us take these showers of blessing upon ourselves. Ooh, yes.
Amen.
So I've got the
From
piece
whatever God is, we'll receive blessing from God, whatever you are, God.
So Sophie, you give me a piece of paper for next week.
Let's write something on it.
Well, say it's
Any
blank.
thoughts?
Oh, do we have to think of something?
You have to think of a subject that you would be interested in. Sorry, that's a bit clayey.
Oh.
So something that you think would be an interesting topic of conversation.
Let me think about that for a moment.
And I'll just work on this. I put you on the spot, didn't
You
I?
did put me
I
on
did
the
put you on
spot.
So it doesn't have to be theology. It could be
Yeah.
anything. It could be current affairs or...
Okay. So, yeah.
What is joy? Oh, interesting.
What is joy?
What is joy?
Who is joy?
Yeah. All right, fold it up, pop it in the pumpkin pot.
But doesn't mean that you're going to have this one next week, because
No.
someone might pick a different one when they go in. So
Yeah, it might be what is the end
now
of the
here are
world.
people. Pumpkin
Here
pot.
it goes.
There it is. It's going in. Whoop. Lid on. Being transparent here.
No trickery.
No.
No tomfoolery here.
Muffling up my sleeves.
All right. Thank you guys, whoever stayed around to the end.
Yep.
Good on ya.
Yep.
Give us a like.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.